right, let's just give this a couple of minutes to allow people to come here. We got a lot to discuss today. Where's my? It's right here. We got a lot to do. As usual, I got my Breeders' Cup hat on. I do have to keep periodically hitting my computer because that is my alternate power source for my phone. I did get delayed for a couple of minutes because I was in the midst of trying to expose some particular protesters. They got filmed today, actively spreading lies. So I'm just in the process of posting those out on social media, whether it be Instagram or Twitter. So, actually, you know what? Why not? Let's just listen to this shit.
So the counter protesters are backstretch workers that work here, Los Alamitos, and Santa Anita. Let me take this off so you can see me. Sure. And they have been hired by horse trainers, horse owners, and horse breeders to come out and protest.
So, in case you don't know who that is, that's Ellen Erickson, someone who I've actually talked to on numerous occasions. Not necessarily that I have a relationship with. Probably, I've actually talked to her more than I've talked to Patrick Vatswella, president of Horse Racing Wrongs. But Ellen organizes all the protests down at Del Mar. She's also a PETA person, so we know how trustworthy she is. But anyway, so that was her talking to an animal rights news organization, but an animal rights news organization that was at least trying to cover the story from both sides of the perspective. And the whole interview that she did, it's on Facebook. If you want to find the video, it's actually I gotta find the news source is called Jane Unchained. So if you want to go watch that whole thing, the person actually makes an attempt to talk to both the counter protesters and the actual protesters. It's definitely very biased towards the people the animal rights activists, but the person who is covering it is at least making an effort to try and she's making an effort to at least try and see it from both sides. Not that it's working too well, but she is making that effort. So bravo on your effort. Bravo. But anyway, now that that's all over with, let's get into stuff that's happened with racing today. Break Even got beat today at Saratoga. That was very surprising to me. So yeah, that was very surprising to see Break Even, the Brad Cox sprinter who had previously been undefeated in 6 starts, got beat for the first time. And yeah, so it was not the best ride in that race, but excuse me, but I mean, it's understandable. You don't expect horses to go undefeated for too long. I just got to put this out on Twitter. So yeah, obviously, if you have any questions about anything, want me to pick a certain race. I know racing's still going on at Del Mar, so or is it even? I don't even know if it's still going on. But if you want to ask me questions about it, feel free to do so. Just send me a message. I just gotta send it. So yeah, Woodward Stakes was also today, so that was something that happened. I'll leave a link to, I could find that news article and post the link in the chat, but I'm gonna post links to Twitter and Instagram if you're not already following us, so you have the knowledge of where to go. But like I said, we will talk a little bit about the Woodward Stakes tonight. Preservationist was my pick after Vino Rosso got scratched. That news actually did not get to me for a while. Hey, how's it going? So the news of Preservationist scratching did not get to me for a while. So people were asking me what my picks for the races were, and I said I'll take Vino Rosso, and they said he got scratched. So Vino Rosso scratching was something that did not get to me. So I found out like maybe a half hour, actually probably more towards an hour before the race. And just hang on a second. Snapper. Oh yeah. That is also something that happened. Snapper Sinclair is now also a millionaire. Sorry, I did have to send out some messages and get stuff out on Twitter for all the people who are over there. What am I trying to find now? I'm trying to find that we're live now. So I want the chat. I don't want. Okay, there we go. Chat. I'll post something in there. Paste. So there's the link to Twitter. I'll go get the link to Instagram right now. You can check out stuff that I have posted over there. I did just put this out about this stupid Ellen lady. If you want to go yell at her over on her Instagram, she's on Instagram at Passionate Vegan. So if you want to go call her out on her lies, please feel free to do so. I'm not gonna say anything because she's not gonna talk to me. But how's it going? Who did you have for the Woodward? You didn't ask me anything about that. So just wondering who'd you have in the race? I had Preservationist, like I said already. I had originally Vinaroso, and then Vinaroso scratched, so I decided to take Preservationist after that, and it turned out to be a pretty good pick. I think Preservationist, I'm not going to say he's a better horse than McKinsey, but I think Preservationist is a better horse than we saw him show in the Whitney Stakes. What is that race called now? The Whitney Handicap, whatever it's called, whether it's handicap or race. I think he's better than he was in that race. And I think a lot of people agree with me on that. But yeah, so again, if you have any questions about any races left for tonight, tomorrow, there are 2 more grade 1s in the Saratoga meet. The grade 1 Spinaway is tomorrow, and the grade 1 Hopeful is on Monday. Both of those are races for 2-year-olds. I have not been talking too much about 2-year-olds, but can you type her Instagram in the chat? Yeah, I'll type her Instagram in the chat. And if you want to, she hasn't posted anything about horse racing because she's not posting it because the counter protesters out in California are toasting the horse racing wrongs people. They are outnumbering them at their protests, sometimes 5-1. So she's not posting them, but she does have a few posts where you can go back and call her out on her lies. She's not going to answer a DM, so don't bother sending her a DM, but I'll get. What is some of the dumb? Well, she said that today, that I'm not sure if you were here for that, but she said today she was being interviewed by a biased animal rights news organization that was trying to be unbiased. But she said in that the counter protesters out in California were being paid by the owners, the trainers, the track itself to go out and protest, which that's just not true. That information's not true. And, the whole time that these protesters are out here, they're spreading lies. They're just spreading lies. It's not anything that, it's just stuff that's not true. I'll just go on to Instagram because it's not. And please go roast. And, I have my ability to wage a Twitter war against horse racing wrongs was severely reduced because I was finally blocked. For some reason, they left me unblocked for the longest time, but I was finally blocked. And and here's the funny thing, actually. One of her people got arrested for shoving over one of the counter protesters, and it was pretty funny that the person got arrested. But I called her out on her group of people being hypocrites because they were yelling at children and stuff like that. I already talked about what Patrick did up at Saratoga. They basically did the same things that Patrick does at Saratoga. But I said, you can't be yelling at children. Like, if you don't like horse racing, then that's one thing. But you can't be yelling at children, trying to fight people as they're coming into the track, which is basically what they're doing. And, this is before she knew who I was. Because, you would think that Mr. Bottuello, and that's actually how he pronounces his name. I actually went over that. I don't need to go over that again. But you would think that he would send an email out to all his people and say, don't talk to this person. Apparently, he hasn't done that. And so she's been talking to me. And I said to her, you shouldn't do this. And so she thought I was a person who wasn't in horse racing. So she was talking to me and is like telling me how the counter protesters lie and how someone's stalking her and all this crap that's not true. And she said, you can't believe this stuff. And I said, well, you are doing this kind of stuff, and counter protesters are not doing that. Like, and she said, yeah, you know what, it wasn't. And one of the most recent times, not this weekend, but the past weekend, she flipped someone off for being out there. And she says that that was the person who was stalking her. That's a pile of lies. But I finally got her Instagram up. But this is the before I post the link to the Instagram, this is the post that she said. And it was a quote from Morgan Freeman that said, self-control is strength. Calmness is mastery. You have to get to the point where your mood doesn't shift based on the insignificant actions of someone else. Don't allow others to control the direction of your life. Don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. And this is the comment that she had for the picture. Sometimes it's hard to do. We must not let the counter protesters get the best of us. So, I mean, she clearly, and I tweeted about that. I said she clearly doesn't practice what she preaches. But I mean, it's just, you see all along, and this isn't just with this isn't just with her, it's with everyone in horse racing wrongs. It's that, they don't want to accept the truth. They don't want to accept the truth and, realize that what they're doing is they're not really helping horses, and they're supporting a guy who is lying about a bunch of crap. And where is my live video? I can't post the link in here right now, but I gotta find it first. Just give me another second, and then I'll have that link for you. But please feel, if anyone is willing to, if anyone wants to go battle protesters on Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, I mean, I wouldn't say, I mean, I would say if you want to do it, go for it. But if you, you're just going to end up wasting your time, because they're not going to change their opinion. The reason I did it was because, I wanted to get a point across that these people are lying. So that's the link to her Instagram. Let me just make sure that works. Yeah. Yep. That's the link to her Instagram. And actually, that's the link to the post that she got. But, that's the link to the post that she made, but that's also her account. So if you would like to go call her out on her crap, please feel free to do so. Because, I mean, these people, they're lying. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. What they're saying is not true. And I mean, we're beyond the point. We're beyond the point of that being doubtful. So let me just give me a second. I can answer this. All right, I just put that out on Twitter. So if you want to go to my Twitter, you can watch that video that I recorded or spliced out of the whole 48-minute interview. I suppose I could leave a link to the Facebook video if you're interested in taking a look at it and hearing the lies. Let me actually see if they posted this on their website, because Facebook links tend to not work unless you follow them. But the organization that went after, or that was out there, it's an animal rights organization, but yeah, so that's what it is. It's an animal rights organization, and they're not looking to cover it for both sides of the story. They're looking to just better their agenda. By the way, I should say, if you have not already given us a follow over on Twitter or on Instagram, go do that. Definitely go do that. Planning on commenting on, yeah, please go do that. That would be hysterical if you do that. I think, yes, let's put aside all this crap, and let's actually talk about stuff that we care about. Yes, I think that Preservation is a contender for the Breeders' Cup Classic. I'm ready to say that he's a better horse than McKinsey. And I mean, that might be me overreacting, but I'm ready to go there with that. I'm ready to say that this is a horse that is really, really good. He's really good. Like, I don't think that, like I said earlier, I don't think that this is a horse. God, I'm stuck with people, but I have a bad feeling he might. You think he's going to be a tonalist kind of horse? Well, then that means he's going to win the Breeders' Cup, or excuse me, the Jockey Club Gold Cup. That is true. Tonalist never really did anything in the Breeders' Cup, but Tonalist was a good New York horse. Excuse me, but definitely, I will take. I'm not going to say that I will take Preservationist, but going into the Breeders' Cup Classic, definitely, that is a horse that I will, for sure, take into consideration taking him. Absolutely what I consider taking Preservationist. I'm not sure that there's going to need to be a next race for Preservationist. I would say if there was going to be a next race, I don't even know if they just don't go right from here to the Breeders' Cup. But if there is a second race, if there is another race, and I think it's a Jockey Club Gold Cup, I really don't think there's another race that you can put Preservationist in, because I mean, the only other races that you could run him in are on the West Coast. And Preservationist is not going to ship out west to go run in the Awesome Again Stakes. He's only going to ship out west for a Breeders' Cup. I mean, if he only does well in New York, then he only does well in New York. But, I mean, I would say that this is a horse, he is very good. And I don't think Preservationist is, I mean, this is a horse that had only had, 6 lifetime starts going into this year. I'll get that up on Equibase. Preservationist. This was a horse that only had 6 lifetime starts coming into 2019. And he won the Suburban Handicap. Then he didn't run well in the Whitney. Then he's now won the Woodward. So let's get his results. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, coming into this year, he had 4 starts. And he's had his start in, he's had 1, 2, 3, he's had 6 starts. So this is still, I'm not going to say this is a fresh horse, but this is still a horse with a lot of gas in the tank. And I would say, even though he's a 6-year-old, I would think that there is the possibility that he runs next year. And if he runs next year, he could be a pretty good horse. But I do understand what your point is with the New York thing. All right, I just finished doing all my social media posts, but I mean, but yeah, so getting back to, hang on a second, someone just asked me one of my friends out in California is offering to broadcast one of the races live. So I'm trying to figure out what that's going to be and when. Nuts. They're not going to be able to do it tomorrow. Oh, that's disappointing. Oh well. We'll get out there eventually. I can also tell you, I have been doing some more planning. Today we are going, like I have said before, we are going to be going to the Breeders' Cup in 2020. I have been working out flights and stuff like that because I don't want to not have an idea. And I mean, it's going to be a headache, but we're going to be out there. I'm probably going to have to fly. This is how screwed up airlines are. One of the flights involved a layover. It involved flying out of Boston, and it involved a layover in Dallas Fort Worth. And that's past Kentucky. So you're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's what it is. But yeah, races tomorrow. I guess we'll talk about the. I already talked about the hopeful, but the Breeders' Cup 2020 is at Keeneland, so we're going to be out in Keeneland for that. By that, I'm also working on getting some other content. I'm not going to specify which, Do you think Matt? Okay, this is actually a good discussion point. Do I think Maximum Security could win the Breeders' Cup Classic? Yes, I do. I think that he's right now. I would say he's the favorite because or at least he's my pick for the Breeders' Cup Classic because I would not pick McKinsey because I have seen this horse at a mile and a quarter and he has not won yet. He has yet to win a race at a mile and a quarter. So I would be Maximum Security did win a race at a mile and a quarter. And even though he was disqualified, when you're looking at a horse's ability to win at a distance, that doesn't matter. The fact that he was disqualified doesn't matter when we're looking at it from this perspective. So yes, Maximum Security can win the Breeders' Cup Classic. How's it going? So I'll answer your question first about Horse of the Year, but I'll talk about him and the 3-year-old championship in a minute. If he wins the Pennsylvania Derby and the Breeders' Cup Classic, he is probably a contender for Horse of the Year. If it would depend on what would happen in the Breeders' Cup Turf, because right now Bricks and Mortar is the best horse in the country, and I were to say, especially if he were to beat Enable in the Breeders' Cup Turf, that would elevate him up a status. Like, you know, he's probably going to run another. He may not even run another race, but if he does, it'll be another Grade 1 win. He's won already the Pegasus World Cup Turf, the Turf Classic, the Manhattan, the Arlington Million. It would be a 5th Grade 1 win on the year. That's Horse of the Year material already. So if he runs another stakes race before then, that's a pretty good case for Horse of the Year. 5 Grade 1 wins, all of them in Grade 1 races, and 6 stakes wins on the year. So that he puts himself in a good position. Bricks and Mortar, I should say, is in a good position right now to win Horse of the Year. But if he were to lose to Enable in the Breeders' Cup Turf and Maximum Security were to win both the Pennsylvania Derby and the Breeders' Cup Classic, then Maximum Security's Horse of the Year. I would not give Maximum Security Horse of the Year if he loses the Breeders' Cup Classic or if he loses the Pennsylvania Derby. Enable, but here's the one thing. If Bricks and Mortar was to beat Enable and Crystal Ocean, because both those horses are great horses. If Bricks and Mortar beats them, which I don't think he will, and that's why I don't think Bricks and Mortar is going to be Horse of the Year, because I do not think Bricks and Mortar beats both Enable and Crystal Ocean. I think that those are two superb horses that I just do not think he can beat both of them in one race. I really don't think he can beat. I don't think Crystal Ocean can beat Enable, but especially Bricks and Mortar, especially not those two. But if Maximum Security, or if Bricks and Mortar were to lose the Breeders' Cup Turf, which I think will happen, and Maximum Security were to win both of those races, then Maximum Security is your Horse of the Year. Now, I will spin that over to the 3-year-old championship. Maximum Security right now is still the favorite for winning the 3-year-old title. And I think, vying unforeseen circumstances, Maximum Security wins the 3-year-old championship. I don't think any other horse is in a position to unseat him. Because, I mean, let's look at it. Tacitus can't finish first in a race. He's been second now 3 times. The Travers, the Jim Dandy, and the Belmont. And he was 3rd in the Kentucky Derby. So this is a horse that you don't win 3-year-old championships by coming in second, and then winning a race. And Tacitus has already lost to Bricks and Mortar. Tacitus has already lost to Maximum Security once this year. So I don't think one win is going to elevate him over Maximum Security. I also don't think Code of Honor can beat Maximum Security because he has run. Tacitus, it's an interesting case. I think that there's a lot of stuff that went wrong for Tacitus in the Travers Stakes. I don't think the blinkers were a good idea. And I think at this point, I'm not someone who likes to crucify jockeys because they don't win races. But this is now the 4th time where Tacitus has been in a race and he has had the ability to run better than he did. This is the 4th. The Travers was the 4th time that happened. And, at some point, it's more than just the horse. And the blinkers were not a good idea. I don't even think it's that he gets tired. Because if you look at 3 of the races that he was second in, or if you look at 3 of those races, Tacitus didn't get the best trip in the Kentucky Derby. And I mean, you can say that for a lot of horses. You could say that for Game Winner. But Tacitus didn't get a good trip in the Belmont, the Derby, and the Jim Dandy. So I don't think that it's the fact that he's getting tired. I don't think in any of those 3 races it's him getting tired. I think it's the fact that he didn't get a good trip. Now, I will tell you is that he probably did get tired in the Travers because he's not a speed horse. The idea with Tacitus going in the Jockey Club Gold Cup is it would probably be him and Code of Honor. They think that there's going to be a rematch between those two. I'm not going to predict that right now because that's a month away, and we'll see how that race pans out now. But they think that it could be a rematch between Tacitus and Code of Honor. But Maximum Security, or I should say, with regards to Tacitus beating Maximum Security, I just don't think it's going to happen. If American Pharaoh can back it up, what exactly are you saying there? What exactly are you saying there? I don't understand what you're saying. Can back it. If American Pharaoh came back, it would be end of discussion. Omaha Beach. I guess I could get to Omaha Beach now. I don't think he wins the 3-year-old championship. I don't think it's attainable for him. Rebel Stakes, Arkansas Derby. He's going to run in a stakes race on the same day as the, what's the name of that race? The Awesome Again. So he will not be running in the Awesome Again. So that means I don't think he's running in the Breeders' Cup. And Omaha Beach is not going to win an Eclipse Award without winning a Breeders' Cup race. I would have agreed with the possibility of him winning. Do you have any info on another Twist of Fate and if Tacitus wasn't on the front end in the Travers? Then Mucho Gusto maybe would have won. The thing about Omaha, okay, I'll answer his question first about Omaha Beach. I don't think Omaha Beach is going to win the 3-year-old championship because he's not gonna be able to win the kind of races that you need to win. He's gonna run in a stakes race at Churchill Downs. I think it was. I actually got to figure out where that was, so I'm not reading off inaccurate information. But Omaha Beach is not going to be running in the Awesome Again. So that was a winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And I don't think he goes from not running at all since the Arkansas Derby and one stakes race into another race. War of Will is probably going to be in the Pennsylvania Derby. Unless something goes wrong with him, he's going to be in the Pennsylvania Derby. He was originally Omaha Beach is going to run in the Yak handicap. So that's on the same day as the Awesome Again Stakes. And that's a race at Churchill Downs, the Yak. So I really don't think Omaha Beach is, and that's a 1-turn race. So I don't think he is going to run in the Breeders' Cup this year. So with respect to Omaha Beach, we all know he's a very good horse. He will not win. I can say that comfortably now. He will not win the 3-year-old championship because he will not run in the Breeders' Cup. If I were to pick the advice, or if I were to give Trainer Mandela some advice, I would say, yes, run him in the Yak, and then run him in the Malibu Stakes at Santa Anita in December. That's the route that I would take. I've always said that I like the idea of Omaha Beach in the Malibu ever since he got scratched from the Derby, and it was apparent that it wasn't going to be an immediate comeback. So that's what I would do with Omaha Beach. But to answer your question, no, he will not win the 3-year-old championship. If Tacitus wasn't on the front end, Mucho Gusto could have very easily won the Travers. Mucho Gusto is a very fine horse, and he probably should have been in the Kentucky Derby. If Joe Talamo had put a better ride on him in the Sunland Derby, then Maximum Security, Mucho Gusto could have been in the Kentucky Derby. So that's what I have to say about Mucho Gusto. I think he's a very, very good horse. Probably could have won the Travers, although I think Code of Honor would have got going and maybe beat him, but could have been, there was always the chance for it. About War of Will is going to be running in the Pennsylvania Derby. So you're going to have your Maximum Security War of Will rematch. Congratulations, Gary West. Fork over your money. No, but not being facetious, uh, War Will, I think, is done after this year. I really don't see a reason he continues running. If he does, it could probably be a race like it could probably be a race like be a career like Wonder Godot, if you want to say it that way. Like Wonder Godot came back for the Apple Blossom. Those are the same connections, by the way. Gary Barber and Mark Casse. Wonder Godot came back and didn't run well in that Apple Blossom handicap, and she was retired the same week. You think War Will should go back on the turf? I mean, the one thing that I will say is his Preakness run was not looking back on it was not the most impressive to me. I have never really been that impressed with War Will. I was never really big into him. And, it's not surprising that he won the Preakness because there wasn't really that many good horses in that race. I mean, I thought that Owendale could have won the Preakness if he had a better trip. I think if you swapped the trips that Owendale and Everfast had, Owendale probably wins the Preakness. So, I mean, that's where I stand on that. I don't think War Will is a very good horse. Maybe if he runs on the Travers, maybe if he runs on the turf, that could be a good idea. But I don't know. I don't think he's coming back. I think, there's a lot of value in War of Will because he's the first son of Warfront to win a Triple Crown race. And Warfront's been one of the top sires in the world. So there's a lot of potential in that for the stud market. So that's what I have to say about him. I just don't think he runs next year. Let's take a look at some of the races that are going on this weekend. There's quite a few. We have, obviously, I mentioned the 2-year-old racing. I'll talk about the Spinaway Stakes, give my pick for that. And then also there's the Hopeful. I will be taking, I changed my mind. I was originally going to take By Your Side, but now I'm going to take Green Light Go. I don't know. I just feel better about Green Light Go than I do about, what's his name? The Smarty Jones is running on Monday. What the hell is the horse's name? I feel better about Green Light Go than I do about By Your Side. I will be taking the winner of the Adirondack Perfect Alibi, Mark Casse, Irad Ortiz. Combination have been winning a lot of races, but the Smarty Jones is running Monday, so I guess we'll talk about the Smarty Jones right now. It's an interesting race. It's a listed stakes. Not the only Smarty Jones in the country. There's also a Smarty Jones at Oaklawn, but this one is at Parks, and it's for 3-year-olds. It's on Monday. And there's some interesting horses in it. You've got a couple of horses returning from the Haskell. Spun to Run and Bethlehem Road were both long shots. They were third, or Spun to Run was third, and Bethlehem Road was sixth in that race. You have Grump's Little Tots, who has since running second in the Easy Goer Stakes to Majid, won an allowance at Saratoga. This is his first start since then. Majid, the winner of that Easy Goer Stakes, is also in this race. And then you have a couple other horses, Cairo Cat. And the favorite right now, I think, is the winner of the Ellis Park Derby, Gray Magician. Gray Magician originally tried the turf, didn't work, went back to the dirt, won the Ellis Park Derby. Actually, no, Gray Magician didn't try the Kentucky Derby, didn't try the turf. What the hell am I saying? I'm mixing him up with Plusquet Parfait. But the Ellis Park, he was second in the Indiana Derby. He won the Ellis Park Derby over Nick Sco, a horse that I've never really been into at all. And, that Ellis Park Derby wasn't really that good of a field. But, Gray Magician, I don't think he's that good of a horse, but I'll pick him for this race because, he probably looks like the best of a bad group of horses. I shouldn't say bad, the best of a underwhelming group of horses. And also, I believe the Oklahoma Derby is running this weekend, or if it's not, it's running soon. So let me check that Oklahoma. I can't spell the state of Oklahoma to save my life. Yeah, that was a terrible spelling of that race. But yeah, so the Smarty Jones is running this weekend. When is the Oklahoma Derby? It is okay. That's what I thought. I what's strange to me why I was talking about a race that usually happens at the end of September. It is the Oklahoma Derby is going to be on September 29th. So in that race, Long Range Toddy is already said to be going there. I will take him. Long Range Toddy won a couple of races, including the Springboard Mile at Remington Park. So he clearly likes the track. I'll take Long Range Toddy in that race. The Oklahoma Derby. I mean, Long Range Toddy is an okay horse, but I'm not really that into him. But I'll take him if he's running at Remington Park, I'll take him. And like I said, the hopeful this weekend, 2-year-olds, I'm taking Green Light Go over By Your Side. So yeah, if you have any more questions, please feel free to drop them in there. Like I said, go give us like I've said before, I put the links in there if you want to go follow us over on Twitter and on Instagram. You can go check that out. But yeah, break even got beat. Like I said, break even got beat. That was very surprising. Vasilika also won the John Maybe Stakes, and that was a very tight finish. Vasilika, the Jerry Hollendorfer trained horse. Do I have an update on something like a Hot Brown? I think his career's over. I really think so. I mean, that was a nasty injury that he had. I'll look that up right now, but I don't think something like a Hot Brown is running again. That was a nasty injury that he had. I forgot to put the like in there, but and I would say if he comes back, he's probably a turf horse. I mean, that's what I'll have to say. I mean, it was a nasty injury, and they were not very. What the hell? What am I trying to say? They said they would be surprised if he came back. Another Twist of Fate is injured too. He's out for the season too, but I think is going to be coming back next year. But both of those horses, I'm sorry, I did forget to answer that question or that you posed earlier. But Another Twist of Fate is also done for the year, as far as I have heard. But I think he might be coming back next year. I'm not 100% sure. But if and when he comes back, he's coming back specifically for the turf. This is not a horse that's running on the dirt again, not running on synthetics. He's just going to go into the grass. I mean, a lot of us thought that Another Twist of Fate was better than what he really was. I don't think Another Twist of Fate is coming back this year. He's not retired, but I don't think Another Twist of Fate is coming back this year. At least that's what I've heard. Let me try to find. I'll try to find that for you. I guess I should also talk about the Shared Belief Stakes from last weekend because I did not talk about that on the show this weekend. The Shared Belief Stakes was won by Improbable. Good for him. I have never, like I've said before, I've never really been that high on Improbable. I still don't know how he was a favorite for the Kentucky Derby, and he was the favorite over. He was the favorite over Maximum Security. He was 4-1. Maximum Security was 7-2. 5-2, whatever he was. He was a very slight favorite over Maximum Security, but he was the favorite. I'm still trying to find information on Another Twist of Fate. I'm not seeing anything, but I really don't know. I mean, I think Another Twist of Fate is coming back next year. That's also the case it is with Gronkowski. Not that Gronkowski was injured, but Gronkowski's not coming back until next year, and he and Axelrod are supposedly running in that new Saudi Cup. I mean, the Saudi Cup's an interesting idea, but it's not really anything that, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that I hope it doesn't succeed, but I don't think it I don't think it's going to attract the kind of super heavy hitter horses that I think they're hoping it gets. But yeah, I mean, I'm still really I'm just laughing at how stupid this stupid Ellen lady is, and I've said the word stupid probably like 50 times. Uh, Definitely, if you want to go yell at her over on Instagram, please do so, because she's a liar, and she needs to be told that she's a liar, because can't be having that kind of stuff. And if you got to practice what you preach at the very least. Practice what you preach is what I say. Does anyone have any more questions about anything else? I mean, can't really think of anything in particular that is going on worth discussing right now. I mean, the Kentucky Downs meet is starting up this year. Stormy Liberal is going to be returning for for his first try at the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint. That's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. I don't know what I think about Stormy Liberal. I don't think he's going to win it. Excuse me. I don't think he's going to win this year. I think that Stormy Liberal is, he's got his 2 Breeders' Cup wins. I think that World of Trouble is a better turf sprinter than him. Also, if anyone has any questions about the outcomes of the races on the track from last weekend's Travers and any of the stakes races on that day. Also, I will put this out now that we are going to be giving away a support horse racing t-shirt and probably another bracelet and something else for the Breeders' Cup Classic. We're going to do a similar kind of contest that we did for the Breeders' Cup or for the Travers Stakes. The person's username was NGL_Daniel on Instagram. He had 8 wins on the card. I don't know how he had 8 wins, but he somehow had 8 wins. And yeah, so he is the one who took the contest. Postal Service has not been cooperating, so his bracelet has not gotten to him yet, but we'll get that to him the Postal Service will get that to him as soon as they finish. As soon as they get their crap together. But he did win the contest, but we are going to be giving away some shirts for the Breeders' Cup. But yeah, so if anyone has any more questions about anything else, I just had to respond to someone. People asking questions about stuff. But yeah, so Kentucky Downs, they are running their stake. Who's going to be my next interview? I honestly have no idea when that's going to happen. I will say I did a show with my friend Jeff, who is an anti-PETA protester, and that wasn't an interview, though. We were talking about the danger about how dangerous these animal rights activists are, but that's not an interview. I did that last week. I got to get all the interviews out that I still owe you guys. I owe you a Jay Primmett interview. I owe you a Travis Stone interview, and I owe you a Tom Durkin interview. So those will be out as soon as possible. Probably one of them will be out next week, and I'll probably flip a coin as to who's going to come out. But whether it's Corey Lannery or whether it's Gary Stevens, I don't know. Angie Stevens has been busy ever since the Saratoga meet started. So I have not been her first priority, understandably so, because she has a life too. So whether it's Gary or whether it's Corey, I can tell you they're still happening. I just don't know when they're going to happen. The Saratoga meet is over on Monday. So I'll give it another week and then I'll ask her. I'll touch base with her again. I haven't been in contact with her since the end of July because Angie's been super busy. But I'll let you know when that's going to happen. Our interviews are still happening. Gary Stevens is still happening. Corey Lannery is still happening, but it's just that I have no idea when that's happening, and I have no idea what Corey is going to be a lot harder to work with than Gary is because Gary's not running races every day, so his schedule is a lot more flexible than Corey's. I will also say that I threw out the old prior questions that we had for him, and I'm in the process of completely redoing the entire interview. It's not my personal preference to script interviews. That everything that I do is obviously I have an idea what I'm going to ask people because I don't go into this and just fly by the seat of my pants basically. But so I have an idea about what I am going to talk to people about, but I don't like to script things because I like to just let them play out. But of course, if someone wants questions for an interview, definitely I'll provide them. And Gary asked for them, so I provided them for Gary. But Angie actually suggested that we get more. We broaden out the questions and not ask as many, things of the same thing. Because I will say, I'm not going to say everything, but a lot of it was, tell me about this horse, tell me about that horse. And it was really because I didn't want to, I wanted to try to hit it on as much stuff as it is, but I couldn't find ways to ask things in the way that it would be super repetitive. But we are still going to be having them. And yeah, so that's going to be happening. 2020 Kentucky Derby, that is right. It will be what is it now? The 40th anniversary of Genuine Risk winning the Kentucky Derby. And people are going to, of course, be asking the question. I mean, people have been asking the question ever since Winning Colors won the Kentucky Derby. Probably ever since 8 Bells or what was the other filly? Devil May Care ran in the Kentucky Derby. Whether or not we think another filly is going to run in the Derby or much less win it. I will answer that question. Not that anyone asked it, but I'll answer that question. I've answered it before, but I think I'm not going to say never because never's a long time, but I don't think it's going to happen for a long time. I mean, I am for the points system in the Kentucky Derby being expanded to include fillies. And what I mean by that is do something like you do with the Japan road to the Kentucky Derby, where you take the 5 top point getters on the Japan road and you offer them a position in the Kentucky Derby. And most of the time they're going to decline. Master Fencer was actually the first Japanese horse to accept the invitation to the Kentucky Derby. And Master Fencer was the 5th highest point getter. So Master Fencer, the Japanese horses don't come to the Kentucky Derby a lot. So the way that I see it is that this is the way that I think they should do it. I think they should open the point system and offer the top point getting fillies. Maybe just even offer the fillies. I actually probably offer the top, like do what you do with the Japan road, offer the top 5 point getters in the filly road to the Kentucky Derby, the position to run in the Kentucky Derby as opposed to the Oaks. And most of them are going to decline. But if you have a really aggressive owner or a trainer or just a horse that is so good that you want to run him against the boys, then maybe that's how it happens. But I don't see it for a long time. Other Triple Crown races, that's a completely different thing. We haven't had a filly run in the Preakness since 2014. We haven't had a filly run in the Belmont since 2013. And we haven't had a filly run in the Kentucky Derby since 2010. And we're not going to have a filly run in the Derby for a long time. What if you do? If you do that, then there will be only 17. Well, yeah, that is the case, because you do have the European road to the Kentucky Derby and the Japanese road. But 90% of the time, the horses are going to decline that because the Japan Road to the Kentucky Derby has been in it since 2017, and Master Fencer was the 15th horse offered the position, 14 before him declined the invitation. So really, most of the time, these people are going to decline the entry to the Kentucky Derby. And, I mean, I don't think the Europe Road to the Kentucky Derby really makes sense. I think that they should just keep the Dubai World or the UAE Derby the way that it is. But even if it does work out that way, then there's less of, I don't want to say there's less of a chance, but you're having less horses like, for example, a Bodie Express. A maiden was second in the Florida Derby. And really, I mean, Bodie Express didn't belong in the Kentucky Derby. And I mean, he was 13th, so he showed that. So if you were to do that, you have less of those horses running in the Kentucky Derby. So, I mean, I think it would be a good idea. I'm not sure if it ever happens, but that's what I would do. That's what I would do. But yeah, so Genuine Risk becoming the second filly to win the Kentucky Derby. Oh, I can't even believe that I forgot to mention this. Also, I do want to send out our condolences to Hall of Fame jockey Randy Romero. Passed away on, I think it was Thursday night. But Randy had been in hospice for a while. I tried to get I will say I tried to get Randy to come on the show, but at that point Randy was already in hospice and was never going to be able to get on. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that Racing Rundown came too late for Randy Romero, and so, yeah, that interview is not going to happen, but we did try to get him in. Like I said, condolences go out to him, or condolences go out to his family, I should say. But, so yeah, we weren't able to get Randy Romero. Disappointed by that, but I mean, we're going to have more people. Not getting Randy Romero, it's upsetting, but I mean, we're going to have more people. So, but again, condolences out to Randy Romero. I didn't know him personally, but from what I've been told by people, he was a great man and definitely was a fighter. Had medical issues his whole time, or his whole life, I should say. You can go if you want to hear Shane Sellers talk about him. He did something over on TVG. They have that on their Twitter. Yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we should discuss. This is probably going to be a little bit shorter than usual, but I did get started later, and I do apologize for that. I did get started later than I usually like to, but it is what it is. So if you have any more final questions, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to ask them if you do have any final questions, and then we'll get going, and then I will see you probably. I think I'm going to do some kind of video about Randy Romero, and then we'll see you on Wednesday for the next episode of the podcast. I should also mention that I am starting. I do start school back up again on Tuesday, so not going to be as. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to be as active, but I'm not going to be. Did you get a chance to watch the? You sent me a video on Twitter. No, I did not get a chance to watch that. Actually, I got to see what video that. I don't remember that specifically, but when did you send me that video? Did you send it today? Because I got to say, what video was it? Because I don't know. If you wouldn't mind sending it again, I would appreciate that, because I don't see a video that you sent me recently. But yeah, I think. Oh, the video with Ken Rudolph? No, I did not see that. So if you wouldn't mind sending that again. But yeah, I actually am in communication, though, with someone who did know Randy personally. So I don't know. I may bring him on, but I don't know. We got options, but I am going to do something for Randy Romero. I didn't get around to doing something for Mary Lou Whitney, but I should have. I'm probably going to do that as like start a series of what I'm going to call remembering, and when influential people or horses do pass on, then we'll do videos about them. I have one. Not that I want this to happen for a long time, because I am working. I guess I'll spoil this right now. Why the hell not? I am working with Lane's End Farm to see if they will allow us to, when we are down in the Breeders' Cup for 2020, if he is still alive, to let us get some footage with AP Indy. We're working on that right now. No guarantees that that's going to happen, but that's what we're working on right now with Lane's End Farm. So, but if AP Indy, whenever he does go, I do have a video plan for when AP Indy does depart us. But we're working to try to get Lane's End to let us do some filming with AP Indy. So if anyone has any last minute final questions, please feel free to do so, or please feel free to ask. And then, like I always say, I'd be more than happy to answer anyone's questions on Twitter, Instagram. Like I did say, I am starting school up, so I'm not going to be able to be as active, but I will still for sure answer DMs. I will still be making content. It's not like content's going to stop, but we will be there will not be as much as there is now. The next big Grade 1 race, that is actually a good question. It's probably the Pennsylvania Derby, actually. Unless there's another Breeders' Cup race before then I think it's the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cotillion. The Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint is the next Breeders' Cup winning you're in race, but that's not a Grade 1. So let me see if a Breeders' Cup race is coming before that. Breeders' Cup winning you're in. And you're in 2019. I should say Breeders' Cup Challenge Series, not winning you're in, because that's not as much of a mouthful. But the view full schedule. So the Jockey Club Derby and the Jockey Club Oaks are coming up next for big those are $1 million races. They're not Grade 1s. They will be, but they were incepted this year, and they have to go through a certain amount of time before they can become Grade 1 races. But the Jockey Club Derby and the Jockey Club Oaks are running. Those are the next big races. I would say that those are probably Grade 1 caliber races. Those are on September 7th, and then also the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint. After that, the stakes calendar goes to Churchill Downs, and you have the Grade 3 Pocahontas and Iroquois Stakes. Those are the 2-year-old races for the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies at Churchill Downs. And then the next Grade 1 race is the Woodbine Mile. So if you're looking for grade, but that's an international. Excuse me, that's not in this country. It's in Canada, but the Woodbine Mile. Excuse me. The Woodbine Mile is your next Grade 1 race. Woodbine's got a couple big stakes. And then then you have the Cotillion and the Breeders' Cup. Not the Breeders. Then you have the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby. And then you have on the 27th, you have the American Pharoah, the Chandelier, the Awesome Again, and the Zenyatta. And then you also have the Spinster Stakes. Actually, no, I misread. The Spinster isn't until October. And then, so that's what's coming up for. How the heck did the PA Derby become a Grade 1? Because more horses started running in it, and trainers realized that the Pennsylvania Derby is a good because some trainers want to have a race in between the track. If you're a trainer of 3-year-olds, some trainers want to have a race between the Breeders' Cup Classic and the Travers Stakes for exclusively 3-year-olds. So more top horses started running in it, and then they upgraded it to a Grade 1 race. And I don't know. I mean, I think that the grading system for races is so screwed up. It's not even funny. The fact that the Beldame and the Zenyatta Stakes and the Stephen Foster Fluter Liz, all the races that were downgraded, it's all screwed up. Everything with the way that they grade races is screwed up. That's what I'll say. But the Keeneland meet is also starting up in October. So after all those, you also have the Vosburg, the Vosburg. That's a winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So that may be where we see Maitoli going forward. That could be where we see Maitoli. We could also see him in the Phoenix at Keeneland. But so Santa Anita is splitting their stakes races over 3 days. The American Pharoah and the Chandelier are on Friday the 27th. The Awesome Again is on the 28th, and the Zenyatta is on the 29th. Do you think Alate could? I think Alate could win the Breeders' Cup Classic if she ran against the boys. I think, like you said that on Twitter, and like I said in my video, this is the year to run in the Breeders' Cup Classic if you're a filly. That's what I think. But just looking at, just continuing to look forward at what's going on. Keeneland's meet starts up. There's a lot of Breeders' Cup races at Keeneland. The Alcibiades, the Phoenix, the Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes, the First Lady, the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, the Shadwell Turf Mile, the Flower Bowl, the Frazette. Actually, no, those are Belmont races. The hell am I saying? The Indian Summer Stakes, the Spinster, and the Jessamine. So those are all Grade 1 races at Keeneland's fall meet is loaded. So if you are in Lexington or if you are looking to, I would say Keeneland is the nicest track in the country. If you can go to Keeneland, go to Keeneland. I will also tell you this right now because I do have this confirmed. I don't have an exact date, but Jay Pridman, my old friend and friend of the podcast, we will be doing we will be doing a handicapping special. Not sure how long it's going to be. We're not going to do every Breeders' Cup race, but following October 9th, which is the end of the Breeders' Cup Win and You're In calendar. So that's the final Breeders' Cup Challenge race. And after that, there will be 3 weeks between the Breeders' Cup and the there'll be 3 weeks between the Breeders' Cup and that race. So Jay Pridman is going to come on. He's going to do a handicapping special with me. We're going to have a couple other people. Travis Stone told me he wouldn't mind doing a handicapping thing with me. So who's going to win the Del Mar Futurity? I'll get you that right now. Del Mar Futurity. The Del Mar Futurity. I will take Storm the Court. Did I say I was going to take Storm the Court? Yeah. I'll take Storm the Court in that race. And not really. Yeah, that's what I'll take. I'll take Storm the Court. Storm the Court. Del Mar Debutante already happened. What's the horse that won that race? But yeah, so there is a bunch of stuff going forward. It's going to be a good next month and a half of racing. I probably should do a preview for the Jockey Club Derby and the Jockey Club Oaks. I wonder if Cambier Park is going to run in the Saratoga Oaks. Cambier Park. Because and I will also say the retirement not the retirement, just the announcement that, the hell's her name? Concrete Rose isn't going to be running for the rest of the year. It's disappointing, but so far right now, Cambier Park is only listed as the Breeders' Cup affiliate mare turf. So we may have seen the last of her going into the Breeders' Cup. We may have seen the last of Sister Charlie and Bricks and Mortar. The past 2 years, Sister Charlie has gone straight from the Beverly D to the Breeders' Cup turf. And also, completely forgot to mention this. I guess this now would be a good time to talk about this. The decision by Churchill Downs Incorporated, I can't believe I forgot to discuss this. The decision by Churchill Downs Incorporated to not pursue casino licenses at Arlington Park. It's not good news for the track. Arlington and the state of Illinois have been fighting for the ability to get slot machines at racetracks for a long time, and they finally succeeded, and Fairmount and Hawthorne are already jumping on that and beginning to build their slot machines at racetracks. And Churchill Downs LLC, who owns a casino 11 miles away from Arlington Park, did not elect to pursue the casino license. So unfortunately, unfortunately, Arlington Park will not have slot machines, will not have casino gaming. Still, people are holding out hope that they could just turn Arlington into a sports betting thing. But then that money wouldn't go to subsidize the horsemen, which is what the horsemen were hoping for with the casino, because the casino revenue would subsidize the purses and all that stuff. Hey, you're just in time. We're talking about Arlington Park right now. You look at it from two perspectives. Number one, subsidizing racetracks with casinos is a double-edged sword. Because, some people, and I've heard a lot of people say that, it's not good to have tracks running that can't sustain themselves. But you also don't want to lose racetracks. And I think, you obviously want to be able to have racetracks that sustain themselves. But a lot of racetracks are still around because of casinos. Fairmount, Hawthorne are going to experience rejuvenation. The Illinois Derby is probably the Illinois Derby, the Hawthorne Gold Cup, all those races are probably now going to come back because of the bill that allowed casinos at racetracks. But then you also have tracks like Mountaineer that are just, they don't really have, I've heard a lot of people say that Mountaineer is a track that, Mountaineer and Finger Lakes, when I ask people in horse racing that are pro downsizing, the two tracks that they would get rid of they're Mountaineer and they are Mountaineer and Finger Lakes. And, I have always said that downsizing in horse racing is a double-edged sword because obviously, you see the benefits. Do we really need to have two racetracks in West Virginia? Especially racetracks that for the most part are running at the same time as each other. No. There does not. In a world where Charlestown exists, Mountaineer does not need to exist. So, Mountaineer takes horses away from Charlestown. So, and that's the way that it is. That's the way that you look at it. That's the pro side of it, is that, all these racetracks within 250, 300 miles of each other are taking horses away from each other. What do you mean, what did you miss? Like, with what happened with Arlington or just in general on the live show? But getting back to that point for a second. It's a double, you say that, but then also you don't want to. Today, Preservationist won the Woodward. You already told me about break even. Vasilika won a race. And the Delmar debutante also happened. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword because yes, the horse having all these tracks are taking horses away from other places. But it also, one of our arguments is we don't want to take away jobs. And if we just go through and start saying, this track, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, that's taking away jobs too. So our defense is, we have jobs at those tracks. If you shut them down, you take away the jobs of those people. So, it's a double-edged sword, and it's also taking away horse racing from people. It's a double-edged sword. That's what I have to say. It's a there's two sides to every argument, and the downsizing in horse racing is a double-edged sword. That's what I'll say about it. Yeah, so, that's about it. I can't think of anything else that we haven't discussed already. If you have any final questions, please feel free to drop those in there. I'll be around for a couple more minutes, just give you the opportunity to ask any final questions. And then I'll get going. We'll see you going forward on probably Wednesday. And then also, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them over on Twitter or over on Instagram, either as a comment or as a DM. We're always ready to answer questions. Oh, and then if you want to, go yell at Ellen Erickson over on Instagram. I put the link up earlier. That was the most recent link that I put up. Ellen Erickson is on Twitter or on Instagram at Passionate Vegan. She has not been active, and she's not posting stuff about horse racing because her people are getting destroyed out at Del Mar. But yeah, so if you want to go blow up Ellen Erickson, feel free to do that. Smarty Jones is, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. I know Some Like It Hot Brown is hurt. I wasn't correct on another twisted fate. I thought he was injured. I had heard somewhere that he was injured, but you corrected me on that. He is just not running until 4 years old. I think he'll be a pretty good 4-year-old. I mean, with Bricks and Mortar retiring at the end of this year, I mean, there's not really that many good American turf horses. Yoshida's probably done after this year. Maybe even Catholic Boy too. Actually, I think Catholic Boy is done too. So, I mean, that's going to leave a lot of horses gone. So, another twist of fate. Keep your eyes on him as a 4-year-old. Some Like It Hot Brown, I don't think comes back. Smarty Jones, I'll just say that once again. I will take Gray Magician in the Smarty Jones. Don't really like any horses in there, but I'll take Gray Magician. Yeah. Oh, and also, by the way, if you do go yell at Ellen, be sure to tell her that she supports a guy who kills animals every day. So yeah, if there's any last questions, you can drop those, and then we'll be done here, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Or now I'm used to saying Tuesday. New upload date's now Wednesday. Someone hysterically retweeted what I said about Ellen Erickson over on Twitter. But yeah, I guess that's it for tonight. I will see you guys all tomorrow. Or not tomorrow. I'll see you guys all later on in the week, unless there's any last minute questions. But I don't think that there isn't. If your question is not answered, then you can ask it over on Twitter or on Instagram. See you on Wednesday.